There is no better feeling in sales than to hear those magical words of, yes, I'd like to move forward from your customer or prospect. This is such a beautiful sounding phrase, and yet so many salespeople are missing more opportunities to hear those magical words because they're not holding sales together by having a true sales process, by having key steps to follow that will help them close more deals. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 absolutely critical steps to close a sales deal. Check it out. Number 1, insight. We must earn the discussion with prospects. We don't get it right away. So often, particularly in today's world of selling, where lots of salespeople are focused on qualifying prospects and asking lots of questions, they think that they can start a conversation with a prospect simply by saying, hey, I'd like to learn more about your challenges, or I want to understand more about your business. If you're a prospect and you receive an email from a salesperson who says, I'd like to learn more about your business, what are you likely to say? Hell no. I don't want to get on the phone with you so that way I can teach you more about my business. Go take a hike. We need to earn that discussion by demonstrating expertise. This is where insight really comes in early on. We must demonstrate to the prospect that we are a true expert who can actually help them grow their business. So that way they want to tell us about their business because we're going to actually be able to help them improve it in one way or another. And the way we do this is by giving real value up front. We need to demonstrate enough expertise through giving of real insight that will get the prospect to think, okay, you know what? I want to have a conversation with this person. This person has shared with me information that makes sense. And so a really important shift in effective selling now is that we really do need to be giving some of that value early on. And so that comes in the form of real information. It could be data. It could be what we call a whiteboard pitch, where we have a lot of other videos on whiteboard pitches. But you want to demonstrate some real information early on in the sales conversation that will get the prospect to say, yes, this makes sense. We can share other challenges that we're seeing in the industry. We can share case studies. We can share insight on their business. Maybe we could even do some kind of a complimentary audit of their business. If it's a big enough prospect, it's totally worth it. And the whole purpose of sharing this insight is simply to engage the prospect in that conversation. But you must earn that conversation, particularly with high-level prospects. If you're selling to low-level prospects, which you probably shouldn't be, but if you are, then it's going to be easier to engage prospects in conversations and just start off by asking them questions. But if you're dealing with a CEO or a CIO or a VP, these people are busy and they don't just want to hop on the phone with any salesperson. They need to see value first. And that's what we're going to use to engage them in that conversation. Number 2, disqualify. Now, you've probably heard for many years that we should be qualifying prospects. But the problem with qualification is that it's not bad, but it kind of misses a really important piece, which is that the goal is not to try to get someone to be a fit, but instead is really to disqualify the people that are not a fit. Top performing reps are spending more of their time with truly qualified prospects. And the only way that's possible is that they are willing to disqualify prospects that are not a fit. They're moving on. So it's a shift in mindset, subtle but really important, where we want to understand the prospect's challenges by asking questions. But the goal is not to get everyone to be qualified, but instead to basically disqualify a bunch of people immediately and focus on the people that are truly a fit. So disqualifying is a powerful shift that will help you understand the prospect, but coming from a place almost thinking like a doctor, where you're saying, look, I don't need to make every single prospect I come across be a good fit. I'm going to let someone know if I don't think they're a fit, and if I do think they're a fit, then I will work to solve their challenges. So it starts by understanding their challenges and then clarifying with them their top priorities. And by the way, if what you solve is not a top priority for them right now, it's probably not going to be a fit, and that's okay. There are so many great prospects out there. So by clarifying their top priorities, you are going to understand where the challenges that you solve fit into their world and whether they're really going to move forward. Because so many sales get slowed down because they're focusing on prospects that really don't consider solving these issues a big priority. And then lastly, within disqualification, one of the key pieces is understanding the cost of their challenges. This goes back to understanding top priorities and understanding challenges. When you know the cost of a specific challenge, now you're going to understand whether there's enough value in solving that challenge to justify the cost of your service. So we want to be asking prospects questions around the costs of their specific challenges. Simple questions like, what would you say that challenge is costing you right now? Right? And if it's a small number that they throw out, chances are they're not going to be qualified. And if it's a big number, then they're much more likely to be qualified. And because the number they threw out was big, now they're likely to see a lot of value in your solution, thus avoiding lots of think it overs and maybe type of situations. We want to know the cost. Number 3, solve. Notice how I didn't start off with present, but instead it's about solve. There's a reason for that because you're not just trying to pitch prospects or present to everyone. Instead, you are in the business of solving real challenges. The challenges that the prospect mentioned in that disqualification conversation are exactly the challenges that you want to be presenting to. In fact, we only want to present to their key challenges. Don't present other stuff, other features, or other benefits that your offering has. Only focus on the challenges that they have mentioned. Because you've probably been in a selling situation before where the sale was on a good track and then you say, oh, and let me show you one other thing that we can do for you. And then you show them that and then they're like, we don't really need that. And now you have to backtrack to get the sale back on track. Only present to their challenges. And one of the really powerful ways that we can be presenting to prospects is by using case studies. We can kick off presentations with quick examples that are similar to them that will help relate what you are going to do to their situation. So it might just start with something like this. We were recently working with a client who was dealing with these exact same types of challenges, A, B, and C, and here's what we did. And now you are using a story of how you fixed another client's situation to demonstrate how you're going to help them. And by the way, the prospect can't argue with the story because it's a true story. And so you use these case studies as a way to springboard into the actual offering, what you're going to do for them. This is going to be a really powerful way to connect the challenges that they have to the solution that you're presenting. And as you're going through the presentation, you want to be getting consistent feedback. During the solve phase, we want this to be a two-way dialogue. And that's where feedback comes in, making sure that they are fully engaged. So when you are sharing a particular part of your offering, you want to use what are called feedback loops to make sure that they're on the same page with you. It could sound something like this. So what we're planning to do here is A, B, and C. Does that make sense in your particular situation? And then they're going to just nod their head and say yes. Or what we're going to do here is X, Y, Z. Can you see how that would be useful for you? They're going to nod and say yes. That's what getting feedback is all about. And by the way, if they say no, that doesn't make sense, do you think you want to know that? Absolutely. So much about the solve phase is making sure that it's not a one-way monologue where you just go on and on and on, but instead that it's a two-way conversation, push, pull, and you're using that engagement so that way at the end, it's not like there's this mystical hardcore close, but instead it's just a question of logical next steps. So there are the 3 absolutely critical steps to close a sales deal. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking my face that should be right about here to get access to a new video just like this one each week.